difficult, expensive work, and it really means a lot to have the organization behind us. When we started this project, seafood and slavery were an open secret in Southeast Asia. People knew there was slavery in the seafood industry. It was called an old story. So two of our reporters, Robin McDowell and Margie Mason, wondered, what would it take to make people care? And the answer soon became obvious. It would take linking it to their dinner tables, to what they were eating, so that people couldn't say, this is a horrible thing happening in some country far away, but so that they could see that it was really coming into their homes and into their lives. So that's what started the project. It took months of source work, months of asking around, months of digging, and it finally led the reporters to the island of Benjina. And Robin is going to describe what that was like.
All right. It took, even from Jakarta, 24 hours to get to Benjina, a tiny, remote island between Papua New Guinea and Australia. So the first few days actually were a little bit frustrating because there's a village called Benjina, and about 100 meters away, the factory grounds, where we could see trawlers pulling up, we could see a factory, but we didn't really have access to the men. A few would come across the channel now and then to buy cigarettes, to visit the prostitutes, to get something to eat, but really we had very little access to them. And on top of that, I do not speak Burmese. I speak some Indonesian, so I was able to find some people who could tell me a little bit, because as it turned out, some of them had been stuck there for 5 years, 10 years, some even 2 decades. So there was a limited amount I could get. After 2 days or 3 days, I called our Burmese colleague Esther Tucson from Myanmar and said, we need you here. There is a story here. We've gotten some of it, but we have just scratched the surface. You need to see what's going on. She showed up. That was another 30 hours. And she arrived, and the doors just swung open. People could not wait to talk to her. They chased her down the streets. They wanted to be interviewed. They wanted their stories to be told. When we slept at night, they'd knock on our doors saying, Burma, Burma, trying to get it to wake us up, throwing rocks at our windows. We were staying in a little villager's home. They would call off the sides of the trawlers when we pulled up, trying to pass messages saying, our families, please tell our families they're alive. One man gave us the only picture he had of his mother. He hadn't seen her for 10 years, saying, please find her in the village. Please tell her that I'm okay. This is evidence that I'm okay. So at that point, it wasn't just about making the link to the American dinner table and getting the Americans outraged. We wanted to help find a way to make the story so powerful that these men would be rescued, and eventually that is what's happened. We were able to follow the reefer ship after seeing them load the slave-caught fish onto that boat to Thailand. We followed it by satellite. It took 15 days. We waited there and met those boats in trucks and followed them as they fanned out across the tiny port town. I shouldn't say tiny, it's a big port town of Samut Sakhon in Thailand, down small alleyways to cold storage facilities, tiny processing plants, many places that did not have names. And over the next few weeks, we were able to find out whom they were supplying to, which big exporting companies, including 2 of the world's biggest exporting companies. And our colleague Martha Mendoza used custom bills of record to link them to Walmart, Cisco, Red Lobster, pet food companies like Fancy Feast, pretty much everybody that, I would say 20 big companies. So from there,
we had 2 things that we had to face. One was we couldn't write about this while the men were still there, and that was paramount. We knew their lives were in danger. We knew that we could not show their faces. We could not name names. So in the end, the International Organization for Migration got them out, just the few men that we were going to mention in our story. So that was an interesting operation. They got the wrong men at first, then both the wrong men and the right men went out together. But that worked. And then the next thing we had to do, once we had the company links, was, of course, to confront the companies. So we were nervous, and our lawyers were very nervous. I mean, Walmart, Cisco, these are not small names. And then, to our shock, what we found with company after company, nobody denied it. We thought they would categorically deny, no, this couldn't possibly happen. Nobody, not one of the companies denied it. And we realized that's because they know. They know that their supply chains are muddy, and they know that this could be happening. So that was a real revelation for us. I don't think we expected that. So the work had, in many ways, more impact than we could have possibly hoped. It did free 2,000 men.